Here on this Tuesday, the markets are open. Let's get you up to date on the latest numbers. We start with the corn market. We did see some overnight sales last night, but it was to Mexico. We'll talk about that after a bit. Right now, it's March corn up a quarter at $3.52 1/4. May corn down a quarter at $3.60 1/4. The soybean market, January up 10 1/2 at $9.60. March soybeans up 10 3/4 at $9.71. March Chicago wheat up a penny at $4.25 3/4. March Kansas City wheat up 1 1/4 at $4.23 1/2. And for the Minneapolis wheat market, it's March up 2 1/2 at $6.14 1/4. With that nearby March cotton contract down 36 points at $77.51. Let's welcome into the program Ben Hushon here with us. Ben, I hope that you had a Merry Christmas. And so what's the weather been like outside your back door?
Merry Christmas to you, John. We have had quite a mix. We're going to see both opposites. Since I talked to Mark last Tuesday, we stayed in a warm pattern. Folks were pulling soil samples like crazy before the ground froze. But just like Tim Ross said, the cold rolled in here Christmas Eve, had a couple snow flurries, and we're looking at a 10-day forecast now where we're not going to see a temperature of that says 30 or anything above that. So that pretty much leads farmers into spreading lime, gone through records, also spreading some potash in some cases. But it's winter, I believe, has officially arrived on the 21st, and we would say in Whitehall, Maryland, it officially arrived Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Well, we've got some pictures here from you, Ben, that shows some of this ground that is just kind of laying idle right now. So that right behind corn, it looks like you've got a pretty good cover here.
We do, and John, one of the things I wanted to mention is Maryland. Everybody knows Maryland has a cover crop program, and they will pay growers to put in a cover crop. And if the viewers, of course the listeners can't see this, but the viewers will notice there is no cover crop planted on those fields. We had record sign up. Over 650,000 acres in Maryland were signed up for the cover crop program, but we're waiting. Hopefully next week or the week after, I can report how many acres were actually planted. Cover crop acres planted in Maryland, I'm sorry to say, actually have taken a dip this year. I believe that's what agronomists in the state, as we talk to each other at meetings, we believe it has slipped some. Couple reasons. We had a very delayed harvest. Everybody heard me talk about that every Tuesday since September, I think. And then we've also had some challenges with slugs, and we're trying to re-educate and help the growers get through those, what to do in those situations. But as you can see from the pictures, or the viewers can see from the pictures, we have not abandoned the no-till. There's still no disc marks or chisel plow marks in there, so there's still good cover. We just like to continue to learn how to manage that cover crop and be able to plant into it next spring and have a perfect stand.
You've got a lot of residue on top of the ground there, as we can see in those pictures, and we want to tell our listeners on rural radio that there is a lot of cover there. Ben Hushon here with us with Whitehall, Maryland at the mill. Ben, thank you very much, and we wish you a happy new year, and we'll talk to you again next week and get another update. Now be sure and stay tuned. We'll update you on the livestock numbers straight ahead here on the Market Day Report. Well, the markets got underway this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Let's get you up to date now on the nearby live cattle contract, which is December. But, of course, as we mentioned, that is expiring very, very soon. December live cattle up 61.20.42. The more watched cattle contract is that February live cattle contract. It's up 72 right now at 119.30. April live cattle up, just changing up 62 now at 119.90. Just kind of keeping a sharp eye on this cattle market today. Again, it'll be another shortened trade week this week as well. On over to the feeder cattle market this morning on the futures. January feeder cattle up 47, 142.02, just about in the middle of the range between the high of 142.80 and the low of 141.62. March feeder cattle trading at 138.80. That's up 25. April feeder cattle are up 8 at 139.53. And as we mentioned earlier, just kind of a show list day today, but the new asking prices for this next round of cash cattle trade, pretty much steady and hanging right in there at where we were last week, maybe just a little bit higher. The asking prices firm at 122 to 123 in the south, 193 to 195 in the north. Packers are not bidding as of yet, but we did see just a very little bit of cleanup trade, a very, very light volume on Friday afternoon at just right around that cattle on feed report. But most of the trade got done last week on a Wednesday. We'll see what happens this week. On over to the hog futures we go, and that nearby hog future contract for February up 52 at 70.50. April hogs up 7 at 74.85. May hogs up 20 at 79.95. Let's talk about some of these other livestock markets. We'll start with the sheep market. This market finding a little bit of firm ground last week for the sheep. In fact, we ended up trading just a little bit higher, according to USDA, and they were up anywhere from $15, a few instances, up to $20 as well. We'll get to those numbers here after a bit, but we can check out what's going on with the crude oil market this morning. Crude oil was moving higher, and February right now trading at $58.72. That's up 25 cents a barrel. March crude oil up 23 at 58.77. And that heating oil market, we're keeping a sharp eye on this because of that cold weather. January heating oil now up 2 and a little over 2.25 cents at $1.99 a gallon. February up just a little over 2 pennies at $1.99 a gallon also. I did mention we had some overnight sales. Let's check that out. This morning, first thing, the USDA was reporting an overnight sale. It was of corn, 134,148 metric ton, and that was bound for Mexico. And of course, that is for the 2017-2018 marketing year. So we continue to export just a little bit of corn. And speaking of exports, what's going on with the dollar this morning? We'll check that out. That nearby dollar for the March down 110 right now at 92.810. June down 110 also at 92.480. So Marlon, we've got the day off and running. Now we'll see where we go from here under a very, very light trade volume.
A lot of times when you have a real odd number like that on your export sales, that's kind of a giveaway.
Bound for Mexico.
Can be Mexico, yeah, if it's not a full shipload. You're right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it very much.